In the shadow of dictator Kim Jong-un stands a woman who not only knows the secrets of the regime, but also creates its darkest mechanisms of fear and manipulation. Jong, his younger sister, has for years been building a position that no one except the leader himself has ever held. She influences state decisions like a shadow of power. She is not only an advisor but a true co-architect of terror. She creates propaganda messages and decides who will live and who will die. Western intelligence services indicate that she holds more power than ministers, and some generals are afraid to even whisper her name. She drafts the statements threatening South Korea and the United States, demanding talk of hellfire and the total destruction of the enemy. She speaks rarely, but when she does, the entire nation trembles and the world watches closely, searching her words for signs of war or revenge. Defectors who have seen her up close speak of a face without emotion, cold eyes, and absolute loyalty to her brother and his regime. In party circles, she is spoken of as the one who does not blink an eye when it comes to signing a death sentence for a loyal yet suspicious person. According to sources from Seoul, she personally oversaw the executions of high-ranking generals who were considered too independent or too influential. At party meetings, she does not raise her voice. She does not need to, for one glance from her is enough for someone to vanish from the system and be erased from history. She is said to have initiated the purge in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where dozens of officials simply stopped appearing at work. Their families remain silent, knowing that any question may be treated as treason and end with exile to a labor camp for many years. In official documents, she holds no military function, but her influence on Office 39 is an open secret. This office manages the regime's black funds, money coming from the drug trade, arms trafficking, and the exploitation of slave labor. Her signature is necessary for approving secret budgets and transfers that have allowed the regime to survive despite sanctions and isolation. Testimonies of defectors indicate that she cooperates with the secret police, deciding on arrests and interrogations of opponents of the system. The power she holds does not come from a title. It is the result of a brutal character, intelligence, and readiness for the darkest decisions. Jong has for years been trained for the event of her brother's death. She knows the protocols, procedures, and is prepared to seize power at any moment. She is called the regime's Plan B, the last guarantee of the survival of the Kim dynasty, if the current leader disappears overnight. Some analysts say that the regime is already testing her power, allowing her to speak on behalf of the state during the most important crises. She threatened to destroy Seoul after South Korean activists dropped leaflets, speaking of an irreversible act of aggression. She is also responsible for brutal media campaigns in which the West is portrayed as a breeding ground of corruption, sin, and absolute evil. In the propaganda created by her team, Kim Jong-un is a god, and every one of his gestures must be praised by the media and the people. For the slightest deviation from this line, a photo without the proper angle, an article without praise, exile, and the loss of one's entire life awaits. According to Western analyses, Jong also took part in the pacification of internal opposition in the party, which had tried to soften state policy. As a result of her decisions, hundreds of officials were killed. Some were executed publicly, others taken to an unknown place and vanished without a trace. In the corridors of the regime, she is known as the Bloody Princess, a nickname no one dares say aloud, but everyone knows and understands. Jong, although she does not officially hold a position within the security structures, directly influences the methods used against political prisoners. Beatings are only the beginning. Broken bones, internal bleeding, torn bodies, and yet they are forced to stand and tortured further, to teach loyalty to the party. Instead of food, they receive bowls of mud, sometimes with water from a puddle, all in the name of re-education and breaking their will to exist. They cannot sleep, kept for days in cramped cells where loudspeakers blare constant noise, screams, propaganda music, sounds of suffering. They spend up to 70 hours standing without the possibility of moving, eating, sleeping, or relieving themselves. Guards deliberately isolate them from the world. They do not say whether anyone is still alive. They forbid writing, calling, or even looking out a window. The prisoner loses all sense of time. He does not know whether 2 days or 2 months have passed, and his mind slowly disintegrates in silence. They are forced into self-criticism, publicly confessing to fabricated crimes, beating their chests and shouting that they hate themselves. They denounce fellow prisoners, and every mistake in a report can mean that the next day they are transferred to solitary confinement or disappear forever. When one of them becomes pregnant, no one asks for consent. Abortion is compulsory, carried out brutally, often without anesthesia, in conditions that defy humanity. Officials test the limits of human endurance, how long one can howl in pain before the body gives up or the heart stops beating. When one family member escapes across the border, the entire clan is imprisoned. Children, mothers, and the elderly are punished collectively, regardless of guilt. 3 generations are locked in one complex. They suffer together, die together, disappear together from the pages of history like a stain erased by the regime. Prisoners do not know if the world remembers them. They have no contact with the outside world, no knowledge that beyond the walls another life exists. Letters are forbidden, conversations do not exist, and simply uttering the word freedom can be treated as a provocation ending in death. For Jong, torture is not an exceptional measure. It is the foundation of control, a tool meant to kill hope before it kills the body. In institutions under the party's control, officials are systematically trained in how to inflict pain effectively, for long periods, and without leaving traces. It is not only about punishment. It is about showing that the state holds absolute power over the mind, body, and soul of every citizen. It was Kim Jong who approved purges that ended with the deaths of entire families, not out of revenge, but to terrorize society. She knows that fear is the most powerful weapon, and that is why she orders it to be sown every day, from the border post to the last barrack in the camp. For her, anyone who does not kneel before the leader is an enemy of the state, and an enemy deserves not a trial, but annihilation.